This is Jack and Art at Bar Mills. We're going to do a clinic here on putting our walls together. We're going to start off by talking about clamps, which is a very basic and essential part of putting your model together. There are a bunch of clamps out there on the market. There's a couple that I really do like. The basic spring clamp that's out there comes in multiple sizes. You buy them in the pack. They come in packs of 20. Two different sizes, two different strengths. You want a bunch of these.
Well, you know, Jack, I get those from Micromark.
Yep.
You get a whole big plastic container for about $15. Of course, there's plenty of shipping involved,
yeah.
But that's just the way that company happens to work. But that is my essential clamp here at Bar Mills.
I do. I like that one too also. The other one I like this is a bar clamp that slides in and out like this to adjust. This one happens to be X-Acto, but Micromark also sells. The nice thing about this clamp is this is a right angle. So when you're putting a corner in here and you're trying to pull it down tight with this piece, this way, it essentially keeps your corner square. So these tools work very well. They're relatively inexpensive. You can buy 5 or 6. They also come in multiple sizes.
Well, you know, the one thing about these, Jack, now my observation is this. You're doing this manually, and there's a little tab here to help hold it once it's locked in place. But you're doing it manually and you're pushing.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many times I've over-pushed in an effort to make sure I have a secure connection. There are other clamps that are a little bit more money that have these little triggers on them, and you can ease it up, and it's just a little bit better product. And if I'm going to spend hours on a building, I just as soon spend an extra few dollars and go for the little bit better product.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that's out there that's relatively very inexpensive, these are clothespins that start their life this way, and by rearranging them, flipping over, putting the spring on the outside, you end up with a nice clamp that has a very deep throat, which gets way in on a model. It works very well. They're wooden, so they don't mar the surface, and you can buy a whole bag of them for $1. Yeah, so make a bunch of those and keep them right on your bench.
Well, either that or you can run down to Staples and you can get the big spring paperclip clamps.
Yeah, that works.
You can use that for everything.
These work well.
Yeah, we use those for the Bar Mills displays and everything else, and those have a nice, hefty surface area for contact, which is a very important thing indeed.
And then the only thing I have, another comment that I have, is where do you keep all these clamps? I like to keep them. I have a crane lamp that goes over my desk. I clip them right on the clamp. They're right on my hand. I can reach out and grab them. They work really well right on the clamp.
Well, I know, Jack, that this is not one of the tools that you tend to rely upon. I mentioned this earlier in the clinic to show what we have on our bench here at Bar Mills. And these are a series of magnets, and this whole assembly here is available through Micromark. Often you'll see Billy the Toolman at train shows, and Billy's a great guy, and I love buying stuff from him, and this is one of the things I've gotten from him in the past as well. What you have is a series of magnets, and you can hear how solidly they fall, that can be placed on either side of an object and hold it in place while the object dries. Now, I have to tell you, this has a lot of versatility that often isn't obtainable in a regular clamp situation. So this is one of those things. And before I had all the money, before we became so rich and famous up here in Maine, I used to use something like this, or a CD case, or in the old days, God forbid, an LP record album, if you remember those. And I would take the corners of something like this and actually use it as a square to wrap my walls around while they were held in position and glued into place. So you could use a CD box. This is a piece of foam, an old LP, anything with square corners that'll make sure that you have that perfect 90-degree angle for the model that you're building.
I used a couple of pieces of block aluminum that I had milled out, basically square, one with a 45. Same type of thing. Inside your corner, keep them square. Plus it's a weight when I want to weight something down to help it when it glues. Okay, the next step we want to look at is, now that we've got our clamps, is how we're going to take our walls, and we want to brace our walls. For a couple of reasons, is most of our paints and our weathering is in a liquid form and has a tendency to swell the wood and warp it. So we want to make sure that we brace the walls well enough so they do not warp when they're done.
Well, let me ask you, Jack. Now, I see the back of this piece of wood, and yeah, I do know what's on the front. But why don't we just discuss exactly the direction of the bracing in relation to the grain of the wood that you're bracing?
All right, let's take a quick look at the front, and you can see that the grain of the wood runs this way. So the tendency for this piece to warp is this way. So what we want to do is go across the grain with our bracing to keep the wood from warping up.
Well, you know, I've seen this so many times that sometimes manufacturers don't even mention what's going on as far as interior bracing, let alone give you enough of the stuff. And this is so essential. If you've built anything before and have it warp up on you, and it wasn't in the instructions and it wasn't included in the kit, do not beat yourself up. This is essential modeling. It's modeling 101. Very quickly, the alternative to this is when you're dealing with a wall that you have vertical stripes on, whether it's board and batten or scribed, because what happens here again, now this is going to want to cup in this direction, and so actually what you're going to want to do is brace here again against the grain horizontally as opposed to vertically, and that will take care of that.
Yep.
So that's about it for this one, Jack. Time's running out, and I guess I'll see you in the next clinic.
Okay, thanks for coming.